Hello guys, and welcome to the first community PvP build feature. I'm so pumped to finally bring this video out for you guys. Oh my lord, I've been wanting to do this for so long, and when I asked you guys, you sent me so many submissions, so this is the first of many to come. If you guys want to send me builds to be featured on the channel, go ahead and send me them at KristoferESO@hotmail.com. Without further ado, this is the Swordmage Shadowflame by Blue. This is a Dunmer dual-wield bow Nightblade build. Now, in this build, Blue was going for that Dunmer fire style kind of sword fighter. And yeah, I think he nailed it pretty good. This is a really sweet build. It deals a lot of damage with the fire damage that it actually puts out while still being a really cool stamina Nightblade build. So without further ado, let's jump into that build, guys. Alright guys, so let's take a look at the build. So to begin, we are a Dark Elf. So this is a Stamina Nightblade build that we're on here, but we are a Dark Elf because we have so many fire-based attacks. So because this is kind of a little bit of a roleplay build, which I really love, Dark Elf is BIS for roleplay purposes. Now, for the purposes of the build itself, Dark Elf is still an excellent option, giving us 6% max stam as well as a percentage bonus to our fire damage, which this build has a lot of fire damage. But you can always go with a regular stam race like Redguard or even Orc, and they'll work well too, or even a Khajiit or a Bosmer would work great too. But any of the stam races kind of work, but Dark Elf, for the purposes of roleplay and increasing that fire damage, definitely want to go Dark Elf. So let's take a look at the stat page here. So as you can see, we have some pretty nice max stat. Got just about 14k magicka. We've got just about 27k health and just under 33k max stam. Nice big bulky stat pools here. Our sustains are looking pretty good. We've got 2082 unbuffed stamina recovery, and we're just gonna buff that up really fast. 2556 stamina recovery fully buffed. Yep, lots of sustain. We are in heavy armor too, so this build is going to have a lot of staying power with the stamina sustain. And our magicka recovery is a little bit on the lower end, but this build doesn't sport a ton of magicka abilities outside of cloak, so we don't need really a ton of mag sustain. And of course, heavy armor is going to help us keep our mag sustain up as well. Now, our weapon damage is coming in at 2,100 unbuffed. When we buff up, 2,500, and then when we enter cloak, 2,743. So a little bit on the lower side of weapon damage there. We are running the infused bow on the back bar, so we do get up to around 3,200 weapon damage on this build to match the almost 33k stamina that we have here as well. So the offensive stats are not too terribly bad. We are in heavy armor, so heavy armor doesn't sport the same offensive stats as medium armor. However, we have a lot of damage on this build coming from the sets that we're using. We've got a lot of fire damage on this build, so that's not reflected in our stat page here. Our weapon crit buffed is, as you can see, at 40% on our front bar, and then on the bow goes up to 45. So a pretty good amount of crit for a heavy armor build, I think. That's not bad at all. Nightblade, of course, getting a nice bonuses to their crit. And then the physical and spell resist on this build is pretty sweet, coming in at 23k spell resist and just about 23k physical resist with 3k crit resist. So nice resists on this build, which is super great for that heavy armor spec, I think. For the food that we're running, we use the Dubious Cameron Throne, really great for that max health, the max stam, and the recovery. And then for the Mundus, we are using the Serpent Mundus. Now this build has a ton of sustain, and if you want to opt out for a little bit more damage, you can always switch out the Mundus to either the Warrior or even go for the Lover Mundus for the penetration. The penetration would be good because it would increase the fire damage of this build as well. However, the build creator opted for higher sustain in this spec, so that's why we have the Serpent here. So the potions that you guys want to use on this build are kind of up to you. Your buffs are fairly well covered by the skills that we use. We have major and minor endurance, and we also have major brutality. So the potions are pretty much opened to whatever you want to run. You don't even need to run stamina recovery potions, so that's probably a reason why the Serpent is here. You could even run the vitality and lingering health potions, the ones that give you health every second and also increase your healing power. I think that would be particularly good for a tankier kind of like sustained damage build like this. So there you go. You have a lot of options with the potions you want to use. And your buffs are really well covered. The only buff that this build is kind of missing is the weapon critical buff. And yet again, it's not that important a buff because we have so much fire damage. It's not even like it's a massive deal for this build to have that weapon crit buff. So there you go, guys. Lots of flexibility with the potions on this spec. Now, for the gear that we're running on this bad boy, we have got 2 Valkynscoria to start. This, of course, is going to be an excellent set for the Fire Swordmage, of course, because we're going to have a lot of extra damage coming out of our damage over time effects thanks to that big flame damage that it deals. And we are on the Dark Elf, so we actually get a pretty decent tooltip on this bad boy. There we go, almost, yeah, 13,500 flame damage on the Valkynscoria. So we'll get nice big Valkynscoria smacks with this set. And we've got a lot of dots on this build, so we're going to have a lot of things proccing this Valkynscoria set. The next set that we have is the Fire set. And this set is a very interesting set, and I'm really glad to see somebody use it in a build. So here it is. Weapon damage, max stam, weapon crit. That's awesome because we are playing a stamina build. When we deal damage with the weapon ability, we have a 20% chance to deal an additional 6k flame damage on a 2-second cooldown. This is starting to look pretty comparable to the Winterborn set, I think. Very, 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 very good set on a 2-second cooldown. Oh my lord. That can dish out quite a lot of hurt here. So that is the next set that we're using. And this, of course, is a heavy armor set. And that's going to be our 5 pieces of heavy with the 1 light and the 1 medium there. Now, the next set that we have is the Red Mountain set. And this is to further accentuate the Swordmage flame build that Blue was going for here. And here you can see the huge tooltip damage on this Red Mountain. Oh my gosh. Massive amount of damage, 12,600 flame damage, and this is on the 2-second cooldown, and this is when we deal damage with a weapon ability yet again. So this set here has a little bit of a delay, so people can avoid it. So ideally, if you see the volcano come up, you want to hit them with a stun or something to inebriate them. But holy man, so much flame damage coming from those weapon abilities, and yeah, the kit that this build runs really, really allows you to push these sets to the envelope. They get really good proc time. They do a ton of damage. So there we go. Let's take a look at the traits that we have on the weapons to begin with. So we got the Nirnhoned main hand and the sharpened backhand. Nirnhoned main hand, of course, to give us that bulk damage to the dual wield bar. Sharpened on the backhand is going to be great for the penetration, increasing both our physical and the flame damage on this build. And then the enchants on these bad boys are disease and flame damage. Now, this is a great combination, I think, because disease is going to be a heal debuff, and then flame damage, of course, is going to add more damage over time to the opponent, which of course can in turn proc Valkynscoria, etc. Now, disease is great for that heal debuff, but you could always go with the poison here too if you wanted to double up on the dots for the sake of Valkynscoria. And of course, you could also run the poisons here if you want, but gotta have more flame damage for that flame mage. Look at the tooltip is even higher on the flame enchant because we are on a dark elf. Isn't that awesome? Taking a look at the bow bar, we have got an infused bow with the Berserker enchant. And this is just going to be great to help keep all of our damage buffed up nice and high. Berserker enchant, pretty freaking sweet, I think. And the infused bow is going to make sure that we have that pretty much up all the time. So the traits on the jewelry, guys, are full robust. Now, you can stick with the robust here if you want. This is supposed to be a no CP build, so for no CP, I would say definitely stick with robust. If you're playing in the CP campaigns, you have quite a bit of max stam to work with here, so you could change this to something else. If you want to go higher damage, you could go with infused and change out one regen glyph for a damage glyph and infused all of it, so you get a lot more regen and a lot more damage. Or what you could do is switch these out for swift or something if you wanted more movement speed, or even protective if you wanted to be more tanky. Got a lot of flexibility with the jewelry traits on the CP campaigns, but if you're playing in no CP, I think you should stick with robust because this build clocks in at around 28k max stam then, and you don't want to give up too terribly much max stam on no CP. Now, the enchants on these bad boys are all stamina recovery, going for that big sustain on this build. And then the gear that we're running is full impenetrable, and this is going to help us reach that 3k crit resist mark. And the enchants on it is full tri-stat Hacky Joes, helping bulk up our max health, stamina, and magicka. Very important, I think, for PvP to have a bit of bulk all around. Now, we're going to take a look at the weapon abilities that we're running on this build. So this build is a Nightblade that uses a ton of weapon abilities because we're using a lot of sets that benefit big time from using those weapon abilities. So the first ability that we have on our dual wield bar is Bloodthirst. And Bloodthirst is here because it's going to be kind of the primary spammable for this build. On top of it, it's a weapon ability that hits 5 consecutive times in half a second, and it counts as a damage over time, so it can proc Valken Scoria as well. So Bloodthirst is going to be a really good skill for this build. It's kind of the mini equivalent of Biting Jabs, I guess, but it's not an AoE. It deals a lot of damage, and on top of it, the final hit is going to heal us as well, allowing our offensive play to be somewhat of defensive play on top of it in a passive way. So this has a ton of synergy with the sets that we use, making it the ideal spammable for this build. Now, the next ability that we have is Rending Slashes. This is going to be one of your setting dots. Now, you have options on Rending Slashes here between the Rending Morph or the Healing Morph. If you feel like you need more healing power, you can always go for the Blood Craze Morph, which is going to give you a little bit more healing power. Rending Slashes, of course, is going to give you that snare and increased damage on the initial hit. So it's up to you on this one, guys, whether you feel like you need the healing power or not. The next ability that we have is Whirling Blades. Now, this is here for our Execute. It deals great amounts of damage to an enemy below 100% health, and of course, because it's an AoE, they won't be able to dodge it, so you will be able to take people out through dodge roll with this ability. Now, the reason that he went with the Whirling Blade morph, I think, is to cover the major endurance buff to open up running whatever potion slots that you wanted on this build. Now, if you're going to run a potion that gives you max stam anyway, your major endurance buff is covered, and then you can just run Steel Tornado here if you want, or stick with Whirling Blades because it is a little bit cheaper. But Steel Tornado is going to be the better Execute for Execute terms. However, this is a great option just to give us that sustain as well. The next ability that we have is Shrouded Daggers. This is here again for that buff that it gives us, the major brutality, access to that buff to open up those potion slots, which is really nice. And then on top of it, this is a great ability just kind of as a spammable too. We've got great base damage on it. On top of it, it can hit 2 extra targets if there are extra enemy targets in range. Being a weapon ability, this is going to have a good chance to proc all of your sets as well. So there you go. Great ability for this build for that passive buff management, as well as a spammable and a little bit of AoE crowd control too, because we do get the snare and the damage there. The next ability that we have is Relentless Focus. Now, in the original build, he had Relentless Focus slotted on his bow bar. I moved it to the front bar and put Vigor back on the bow bar. My reasoning for this was simply because Relentless is going to deal more damage on the front bar when it procs here. On top of it, having it on the front bar means we'll have a little bit higher crit rate on the front bar than we would if we had Vigor here. And Vigor, of course, is a heal over time, which is relative to the bar that you're on, so you can cast it on your back bar, swap to your front bar, and you'll get a little bit bigger ticks anyway. So, Relentless Focus is here for that minor Berserk buff, a great damage buff for Nightblade, and then on top of it, you can shoot that Spectral Bow with it for a massive amount of burst damage. Look at that, 14k disease damage. Now, this will not proc your sets, however, it's still an excellent burst skill, so it's really nice for that reason. And then on top of it, we get that minor endurance buff as well, 10% stamina recovery, which allows us to push the really huge recoveries on this build. And then for our ultimate, guys, we are using Thrive in Chaos. And yeah, this is a great ultimate. It is going to work really well with this build because it will proc every single one of the sets that we're running yet again, just like a majority of the abilities we're using here, which is super awesome. And then on top of it, this ultimate will heal you when you use it. It deals a huge bleed to them, and if you hit more targets, it will increase the damage that you do up to a maximum of 30%. Now, you can use either morph again of this ultimate. You can go with the one that has double the duration just for kind of the increased sustain / healing that it gives. It's really up to you. I think because we have so much set synergy, the other option, the other morph is a really good option too, simply because it can proc your sets more often. However, this one here will increase your damage that you can kind of apply in a short period of time, increasing that kind of short-term pressure that you can have as well. So they're both good ultimates here, but I think what's important is that this build uses the dual-wield ultimate to really get the synergy with the sets that it's running. Now, on the bow bar, we have got the first ability coming in here, Poison Injection, and this is great yet again because it will proc every single set that we're running, and on top of it, it's a great damage over time ability, increasing in damage as their health begins to drop below 50%, so that's super awesome. The next ability that we have is Leeching Strikes. Now, this is here for sustain purposes, and of course, it's going to add some healing to your light and heavy attacks, which is really nice for kind of like passive healing while you're on the aggressive side of things. And yeah, this build has really good sustain. You could run Leeching Strikes here. You could also alternatively go for the Magicka Morph if you feel like you need more mag sustain. You could cut some of your stam recovery and have Leeching Strikes just kind of make up for the lack of recovery. Now, this is a no CP build for the most part, guys. So I think for no CP, having all this sustain is going to be super great. But in the CP campaigns, you can definitely drop some of this sustain if you want and opt for higher damage or higher penetration to increase your flame damage as well. Now, the next ability that we have is Resolving Vigor. This is the primary heal for the build, and we have a lot of other heals kind of coming from other abilities. So Resolving Vigor is going to be kind of your primary heal that is only a heal. Really great ability. You can heal allies with it too. And yeah, you're going to want to try to keep this up as often as you can while you're in combat. There you go. The next skill that we have is Shadow Image. This is a really great ability for PvP. Not only will this proc our Valken Scoria set because it is a damage over time, but on top of it, Shadow Image will allow us to teleport around as we're fighting. We can set the image down, move somewhere else, and then teleport back to it. Really great for kite gameplay to get away from a large group of players, or if you just need to prevent yourself from getting pinned down in a bad location, or want to teleport back up somewhere when you jump off it. Very, very nice. So Shadow Image is such a great skill. It does apply Minor Maim to your opponent while you're fighting too, so really great for kind of 1v1 scenario as well. The last ability that we have is Shadowy Disguise, and this is going to be access to our stealth here, guaranteeing a critical strike as we come out of our cloak. Not too terribly important, because we aren't running a super huge burst kit on this build, so that crit strike is a little bit negligible. However, the stealth itself is so great, and of course it gives us access to our armor passives. So for this ability here, you could actually switch this out for, again, drop the stealth and go for the healing morph of the cloak. It's really up to you. This build is bulky enough, and it has the sustain to do something like that, seeing as this is going to be pretty much our only Magicka ability that we'll really be casting a lot of outside of the occasional Shadow Image. So you could go for the Healing Cloak here if you want, but it's really up to you. You can run whatever you want with the Stealth or the Healing Cloak. Up to the user, I think. And then finally, the last ability we have here is Incapacitating Strike. Now, this is here, I think, because we have kind of a damage over time focused build, and Incap is a particularly good ultimate for a damage over time build. It can apply the stun when it's at 120 ultimate or more. It'll deal a good amount of disease damage. It'll increase the damage you deal against the opponent by 20% for 6 seconds, and on top of it, it'll give them Major Defile. That increased damage by 20% for 6 seconds and the Major Defile make it really nice because you can stun someone with an Incap and then switch to your front bar and go into your Jabby Jab Bloodthirst and deal a huge amount of damage to your opponent. And of course, they'll have trouble out healing all the pressure that you'll be putting on them too. So really good ultimate, I think, for a build like this. You could, of course, go for the Ballista Bow ultimate. I think that would fit well here as well because it will proc all the sets that we're running too. And the Ballista Bow ultimate would, of course, be like overkill single target ultimate for this build if you wanted to go that route. Now, let's take a look at the champion points for this build. Now, the build's creator, Blue, he did not submit champion points for the build because this is supposed to be a no CP build. However, I thought I'd include a champion spread for those of you who were interested in maybe bringing something like this into the champion campaign. So to start off, we've got 37 Warlord, 14 in Sprinter, and 6 in Bashing Focus. You got to break free, you got to sprint, and you got to bash, and that's kind of the order of importance that you need to put points, I think, for PvP. Now, in the Lover Tree, we have got 64 Mooncalf, 15 Healthy, 15 Arcanist, and 11 Tenacity. Not a huge focus here because we don't have a lot of health or Magicka recovery, and we don't really focus on the heavy attacks for sustain because we have such a huge amount of stam recovery. So just big focus on Mooncalf, and yeah, that's pretty much it. In the Shadow Tree, we have got 51 Shadow Ward, 56 Tumbling, and then just 1 Befoul. We got to block and we got to break free. Blocking, particularly nice for heavy armor, I think, because we're a little bit slower. And and roll dodge, sorry, really nice in heavy, again, because you're in PvP. It doesn't matter what armor weight you're wearing, roll dodge is going to be very helpful. So these are really good here to kind of stack, I think, a lot of points here for your sustain-wise. Now, we had 1 point left over. We put it in Befoul. 1% bonus to our healing reduction on the Incap. Oh, baby. Taking a look at the apprentice tree, we have got 23 elemental expert and 24 in spell erosion. Now we have just a few points in here because we have so many fire-based attacks on this build, going for the Dunmer Swordmage kind of build. So that's why we have these points here. Nothing in crits because none of the sets can crit, so we just focus purely on flame damage and penetration. In the Atronach tree, we got 81 Master at Arm and 39 Physical Weapon Expert. Big focus on Master at Arms simply because this is going to up all our outgoing damage with direct attacks. So this will affect some of our flame damage too. So that's really, really nice. And then on top of it, the Physical Weapon Expert is going to be great because we're using physical weapons in both our weapon slots, doing bow dual wield. Tactician's a nice passive because we have such high stam sustain. You can roll quite a bit in this heavy armor build. Setting people off balance for that bonus damage against them is going to be really nice. It will affect your flame damage too to set them off balance. So even more synergy for the flame damage here. In the ritual tree, we've got 37 mighty, 30 piercing, and 16 precise strikes with 20 in Thaum. So kind of an equal spread here. Focus, of course, on Mighty because we're going to have a lot of outgoing physical damage, and Mighty's going to be the big part of that. Physical penetration, of course, is going to be important to upping our outgoing damage. Not a lot in precise strikes because this is not a crit-heavy build, so we didn't invest a ton here. And then in Thaum, we put 20 because we have quite a lot of damage over time on this build as well, so Thaum is going to buff that too. And the important passive that we get here is the Exploiter passive, increasing our damage against off-balance enemies by 10%. That's all types of damage, physical and flame. Very, very nice. And then in the Steed tree, guys, we got 56 Ironclad, 29 Spell Shield, and 50 Resistant. Focus here, of course, Ironclad and Resistant. Reduce the incoming direct damage we take. That's a lot of bursty skills. And then increase our critical resist, pairing really nice with the impen that we have to give us a huge amount of critical resist on this build. And then Spell Shield's nice because we're going to bulk up that just resistance. That base resistance is going to get a nice big bulk there, so that's really good. In the Lady tree, we've got 27 Hardy, 27 Elemental, and 20 in Thick-Skinned. Reduce our incoming physical and magical damage, very important. And then, of course, reduce the incoming damage over time that we take. Cloak can suppress the damage over time that we take. However, sometimes you find yourself unable to access your cloak. So having points in here is always really nice. And then finally, in the Lord tree, we've got 32 Quick Recovery and 29 in Heavy Armor Focus. Now, Heavy Armor Focus, of course, to bulk up those physical resists. Quick Recovery to give us a little bit more healing power. And there is the champion spread, guys. There you go. All right, guys, so let's take a look at that PvP commentary. So a big shout out again to Blue for providing some footage of his build. Super awesome, so we get to see him in action on this bad boy in a battleground here. As I mentioned, this is a build for no CP, so you can use it in battlegrounds, you can use it in the no CP campaigns, and of course, you could throw CP on it and use it in the CP as well. But here we go. So as you can see here, he's just going to be engaging with these other players here, and they're going to be trying to cap this flag, and he's just going to engage from behind on this Nightblade here. Now, a quick thing to note about this footage that he let me know is that he wouldn't normally be running Snipe here. He would be running Poison Injection, and the reason he was just running Snipe is because he did not have Poison Injection unlocked yet, but he had a good fight in this battleground, so he wanted to showcase it. As you can see there, he opens up with the burst on this Nightblade here, dots him up with the Rending Slash, and then goes into the dual wield Blood Craze and puts some serious pressure into him there, going for the Tornado to finish him off. And you see the fire sets doing some real work to these guys. Oh my lord. Opens on this Nightblade here with his dual wield ultimate into the Rending Slash, into the Blood Craze, into the Tornado, and he does a lot of damage to this guy, and he ends up going down to the dots there. Really nice kind of interesting dot/flame burst. I think it's really cool to see that kind of combination there. Super kind of unexpected. Here you see as he goes to res his fellow player here, he gets ganked by another Nightblade. Just going to go into Cloak to kind of mitigate the damage there. Little bit of Tornado to try to pull him out. There you see we get the Rending Slash off. Kind of get the proc off of off the Red Mountain there. Actually, a lot of damage off the flame procs there. You see he takes quite a bit of damage, but unfortunately this other Nightblade here is putting quite a bit of pepper into him too, and he's just going to retreat here. We're just going to heal up and re-engage with this guy. There you see, again, a really brutal knockback from that other Nightblade. He does have the mark on him, and there it is, unable to dodge that incoming projectile with his cloak, thanks to that mark. But there you go, kind of worn down. Good fight Well done, Blue. On to the next fight we go. Opening on this guy with the snipe there into the whirlwind. Nice damage to bring him down. And then this next guy here, we open with the snipe into the rending slash, into the dual wield ultimate, and then whirlwind into the blood craze. Oh my god, look at that. All the fire procs bringing so much damage into these guys. And then he's just going to reopen on these guys from behind. Great job using the stealth here to kind of just stay behind these guys, stay out of their line of fire, just so he can continue to open on them and put the big damage in. And there you see, just going to clean up the last few guys here. Lots of damage splats on this Warden here. He's bringing up huge damage shields, but is unable to survive. And we're just going to fast forward here to the next little bit of action. Opening up on this Nightblade from behind, kind of getting the kill there. And just kind of holding this flag against the few players that'll kind of come and try to stop him here. Here you get to see the nice burst there. We get all the sets to proc, just missing the Scoria there. But yeah, nice big burst. That Way of the Fire set doing quite a bit of damage, proccing very often. And of course it procs right away. There is no, it's an instant proc. There is no projectile or anything. So it does quite a bit of damage there consistently as he continues to give the dual wield attacks down. And here you see, again, nice big burst with the Sork. Bring this guy down. Very, very nice. And then move on to the next objective. Here we've got a few green players here trying to flip this flag. He opens with the dual wield ultimate into the whirlwind to apply a lot of AoE pressure. There you see the sets actually proccing, doing a lot of damage there again. Really great sets, I think. We see a huge uptime on these sets with all the weapon abilities that this build is using. Here we see, again, we're going to open with just massive... Oh my god, that fire burst, and then the other player from behind. It's way too much for that guy to deal with. This guy here is going for a jump off the edge, just a little arrow there. And I believe there was the flame proc too off the fire set to bring that guy down, because it is Berserker enchant on the bow bar, so there would have been the extra splat unless we got the flame enchant. This guy here is going to try to confront the group of players, and poor guy just gets beat down. And now we're going to engage here with a few of the green players here. We set up. This guy just got rezzed. We go for the blood craze into the whirlwind. Nice damage there. Bring that guy down with huge damage. This guy here, the same thing. He ends up dodging the red mountain. However, the Valken Scoria brings him down, and that guy ends up dying too. And then he's just going to turn around here and put the pepper into the last player here. And yeah, there you see. This guy actually has a reflect up, this DK, so it's going to be nice because the Sork there was kind of struggling to take out his reflect. And then it's just one player left on the flag here. And I'm going to open up from behind. There's the rending slash into the whirlwind. Very nice. You see the sets? It looks so good. Oh my gosh. I actually really like this. This is really cool. I like the visual appeal of the sets. It's very nice. So here we go. Again, opening with the snipe. I think we would have had a better open there had he had the poison injection unlocked there. However, opening with the snipe, taking the stun from the staff there. This guy here is going to go into mist. There we go for the dual wield ultimate into the rending slash, into the blood craze. Lots of damage there. Sorry, not the blood craze, I keep saying the wrong one. You guys know what I mean. The dual wield pokey ability, the #1 skill that he's got there. Yeah, great ability pressure there. There you see it again. He dots this guy up. The flame set's doing work there, and taking a stun there. Just got to reset, get a vigor off, and just continue to re-engage with this guy. Huge burst on this guy here. Oh my god. Before the Red Mountain set can even get to him, he just melts underneath the pressure, and he's just going to turn around, reset here, and go into cloak, re-engage. There's the poison injection. There is the shrouding blade, and he ends up, or the shrouded dagger, ends up getting magnum shot off the edge. Oh no. Rest in peace. So we're just going to have a re-engage here. And here we go. We've got a bit of a scrum going on the flag here. Going to open with the snipe, go into cloak here, go into our whirlwind. Make sure we can get some good execute damage on this guy. He ends up going down. No set love on that kill, however. That's okay. And this last guy here, just going to put the pressure on. Give him the tornado. Give him the dots there. There's the Valken Scoria. Oh my gosh. Too much damage. There he goes. This guy here is going to quickly kill off his friendly player. Oh my gosh, but there's the big dot burst there, and he ends up actually taking a lot of damage just from the dots and the flame procs there as Blue is on the defensive here. And now he's marked, so at a pretty big disadvantage in the one-on-one Nightblade fight, taking the mark like that. However, here comes the Sork to help out, and the Nightblade is going to run away. He does not re-engage. So here we go, moving on to the next fight. Let's see what else we can find here. Oh, yeah. Here we go. We've got a few players here. The Nightblade has re-engaged. There you see a great dot up with the sets into the dual-wield ultimate. Massive amounts of damage on that Nightblade there. That Nightblade going for the cloak, suppressing that damage over time. Really good call. Otherwise, he'd be taking a huge amount of extra burst there. And Blue's just going to change targets after that guy gets away. He's pretty slippery, so just going to do a little target shift here. Get stunned from behind. Looking behind us. Nope, nothing. Just going to keep heading this way. Maybe not, maybe. Yes, going to keep heading to this this flag here. Make a flip here, I hope. Here we see, oh man, these players here end up taking down the first player. There you see the snipe into the rending slash. Oh, it's huge actual burst off of that combo, bringing that guy down. Here come more players. They end up killing the last friendly player that Blue has here. Just a little bit of a reset. Going to get a res off on the friendly player and then turn around and re-engage with these guys. The friendly player ends up just respawning anyway. Uh-oh. So now he's by himself. That's okay. Go for the snipe into the rending slash. There you see the whirlwind. Oh, my lord. One player down. Going for the second player. Going for the whirlwinds. He's going in stealth. We managed to pull him out of stealth with the second whirlwind there. However, he does slip away. The other team comes in here and puts some pressure on. Just going to go in the cloak, kind of reset, go into the snipe here. 2 snipes in a row, and I believe it actually gets him. Does it? Does it? Does it? No, it does not. He does not end up going down. Oh, yeah, he does. There he is. He actually dies. There we go. So gets the kill with the snipe. And then we're going to come on this guy here from behind. Huge burst. There you see the red mountain, the flame set. Oh, my God. Massive damage. Just brings that guy down. And we're just going to reopen here on this other Nightblade here. This other Nightblade's playing really well, giving Blue a tough time. But Blue's giving him a good time too, so it's a good fight out here. It's a nice little scrum. And here we go. Going to engage on this guy here. He knows he's there. Oh, there's 2 of them now, and got a little bit of support up top. There's the dual-wield ultimate. There is the rending slash, so we got the good dot pressure on there. Of course, proccing all those sets. There you see another one of the set procs there, dealing good damage to this Nightblade. Going for the cloak here as Blue's a little bit low on stamina. Going to re-engage with this guy, I think just by dotting him up. Nope! That's the end of the round. There you go. That is the footage for this build. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Big shout out to Blue for submitting the footage and sharing his build with us. Thank you so much. If you guys enjoyed this build, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. If you guys liked this kind of stuff and you maybe want to see more or even submit your own content, you can send it to KristoferESO@hotmail.com. I need I need a build write-up and some footage of the build itself. And if you guys want more information on what I need, there's of course links to that in the description, and I'll provide that down below. We stream live on Twitch every day. If you guys want to check out my Twitch channel, link of course is in the description. And finally, guys, we are sponsored by What the Fast. They are a VPN for gamers. If you guys get crap pinged to your favorite games, like maybe ESO, it could help you out. Totally free to try. No card to sign up, so no harm, no foul if it doesn't help you out. And then that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I can't wait to see more community builds from you guys. I already have a lot more submissions, so I'm pumped to see what else you guys got. Let's see what you got. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope to see you next time.